going to show you how to put knife handles on. This is the way that I do it, that I've found to be the easiest, the fastest, and the most accurate. No matter how many pins you're putting in, it just lines up better. So some guys take their handle material and they'll stack it like this, put the knife on top, and drill through, right? It works. In fact, I do it sometimes when I only have a couple pins to put in. But if I'm doing a blade that's got 6, 8 pins and they're small and I need to make sure those holes line up perfectly, it's not how I'm gonna do it. I've got some Kwikset, well, it's Kwikset multi-surface super glue. Now, this isn't the 24-hour cure stuff that you get at the grocery store. This is old school, sets in 15 to 30 seconds. So what I will do, I will take one side, and these scales or handle material just have a liner on them. So, and this is a knife that I've been working on for a little bit, so I figured let's make the video out of this. So this is going to be the knife side, or where the tang's going to be. So I'm going to glue these on, one side on, with super glue. Then, once that one side's glued on, I'm going to drill my holes out, which will reveal holes on this side. Once I've got that side drilled out, then I glue on the other side of the handle, and I drill through the already drilled handle side to put holes in this one. Then I just have to knock the handle material off, clean off the glue, which is pretty easy, and I can proceed to prepping out the blade side of my handle material. Now, what I mean by that is this side here, that's right against the blade. You're not going to be able to sand that or polish it or do anything to it without hitting the blade. Even if you put tape on there, you really run the risk of sanding through that tape and having a big mistake. And then all your work is, kind of trashed. So if you prep this out, sand it down, polish it, finish surface on this edge here. Once that's done, then you can glue your knife. Now here's a little karambit that I'm working on, and this one has a couple surfaces that I had to prep first. So this area is finished, this area, and this area, because when I put this together, those are the areas that meet up to the knife material, to the tang, and where it's going to be exposed. So you have to make those a finished product in those areas. I'm going to get this prepped out real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so as you can see, I put 2 small dots, essentially, of super glue in areas that I know are going to meet up with the handle material, and they're not going to be inside one of my pinholes. It only takes a few seconds to set. In fact, it's done. So I'm going to go to the drill press, drill these holes out real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my first 2 holes drilled out. Okay, now I want to talk about something else you need to keep in mind. So I've got this hole drilled out and it's an 1/8 inch. I can push this drill bit in there, but it's really tight. Now when I do my pins, and I've got these pins rounded on each end, I just do that on the grinding wheel. I can't get that pin in there. It's because the pin is just slightly bigger than this. So a friend of mine, Chris Lundstrom, had this idea that I've copied, and he set this up with different size drill bits, and they're referenced to what size hole we want to go to. So I've got marked on 1/8 inch, and this is a 3.5 millimeter bit. So I can take it, drill it out, and the reason I'm using a hand drill right now is I've already drilled my main hole. I'm barely taking off any material, so I'm not worried about drilling through at an angle and having my pins not line up. So now I've drilled that out, my pin fits. Now I've just got to glue this next side up, drill through my pre-drilled holes, and then my pinholes are going to line up perfectly. So I'll be right back. Okay, so like I said, I've got this other side glued up now. Got no holes in it. All I've got to do, drill through from here, through the tang, out to the other side. I wanted to go back to these drill bits I've got here in different sizes. Now, a lot of guys don't do this. In fact, I only know a few guys that utilize this. Some guys that are just starting out will take the original bit, like this is an 1/8 inch hole, and they take their 1/8 inch bit and they just go back and forth with it a little bit more to kind of widen out that hole. You do run the risk of making the hole too big. The next thing I do want to talk about is epoxy. I'll be back. So the epoxy I found to work the best is G-Flex. I go for their 24-hour cure. The reason is, it gives you about, depending on the temperature, about a 30-minute working time. Now, if you watch some of the shows or you talk to other guys, they'll get 5-minute epoxy. And that's fine, that's where I started. But you're talking a 2.5 minute working time. That means once I mix the epoxy up, I have 2.5 minutes to get it spread on here, get my handles onto the tang and pinned before the epoxy starts to harden up. At 5 minutes, it's done. So with the 24-hour cure, gives me a good half hour to be able to get the epoxy on there and fit everything up. That way, if I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. I'm not ruining my handle material to get it off the knife to fix that issue that I forgot. And as a new knife maker, that's a huge thing because mistakes happen. Even pro knife makers make mistakes. They just know how to cover them up a lot better. Okay, so I've talked about how to get your pinholes drilled and lined up. I've talked about utilizing other size drill bits, using quality epoxy. The next step is cleaning your surfaces before you glue them together. So I use acetone. Simply wipe down the surface of the blade. I wipe down the inside of my handle material where it's going to go together, and I wipe down the pins. The other thing I want to touch on real quick is it's okay to use C-clamps, but don't over tighten. You tighten it too much, you might break your handle material, but you're also pushing out all the epoxy that you're putting on there. You want it nice and tight, just don't go crazy with it. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope this gives people that are interested in making knives kind of a way to get started.